when the Chiefs played the Dolphins, obviously it was extremely cold, and in terms of below zero cold. And I mean, I think it was like -6, -7, but with the wind, it felt like it was -29 or something like that. So anyway, I was reading an article about this. So at the end of that game, the temperature was -9 degrees and felt like -28. But apparently, the Kansas City Fire Department rendered aid to 69 people with close to 50% for hypothermia symptoms. 15 of the patients seen were transported to the Kansas City Fire Department, 7 for hypothermia symptoms, 3 for frostbite symptoms, and 5 for various other reasons. So I guess basically I'm saying this all to raise the point. What the hell are we doing? It's 2024 and we're playing games in below freezing, not below freezing, below zero temperatures. And to be honest, like, as this article kind of points out, it's one thing to have the players going out there and doing that because they can go over to the sideline. The benches are warm. They got heaters over there and stuff. And then at halftime they can go into the locker room and help themselves warm up. They got plenty of fluids so they can stay hydrated. Because one of the things people don't realize, or they may think it's kind of strange or whatever, but when it's really cold weather, you can get dehydrated really quickly. So the players can do that fine, but the fans, the people who work at the stadium, have to essentially, risk hypothermia and frostbite just to, allow fans to be in the game, to be at the stadium. And so I did find it kind of funny. One of in this article, this is on, I think it was on CNN. This guy who's a director of atmospheric sciences at the University of Georgia said extreme temperatures are the deadliest weather in the U.S. each year, and that's hot or cold. So I think people get the idea that they think, well, a tornado or a hurricane or a earthquake or a mudslide or something is the worst, weather threat that you could possibly have. Well, no, it's extreme temperatures. People don't seem to think of it that way, but that actually is the truth. So I just wonder, we've made all these changes. Like, we've changed the helmet, we've changed the rules. We've made it harder to have kickoff returns because that's one of the most dangerous plays. So again, what the hell are we doing playing in these freezing temperatures? And I understand that, like, the stadiums are built a certain way and whatever. And I understand that in the past teams did this, but there's a lot of things that we did in the past that we don't do anymore. People used to think it was okay to smoke cigarettes. Doctors would even recommend cigarettes. People thought it was okay to smoke or drink while you were pregnant. People didn't wear seatbelts in cars. We didn't have airbags in cars. We've come up with some different traffic laws, and also just you guys have seen those barriers they'll put in front of stores, those like poles. Well, why did they do that? Well, because cars would crash through the front of stores, so they figured, well, we'll put these up and they'll crash into those instead of crashing into the stores, because we know better now, because we've got experience. So I just, putting the players in, like I said, putting the players in danger is one thing, but I mean, you really want to risk hypothermia or frostbite just to watch an NFL game? And look, I love the NFL, but I mean, come on, guys, it's a game. I just think, what the hell are we doing here? I mean, if we're going to talk about player safety and fan safety, more importantly, then I think we need to kind of discuss this issue. I mean, it's kind of funny to me. They postponed the Bills game, the Bills against the Steelers, because of the snow, because people couldn't drive to the game, as if that's more dangerous than sitting out there in -29 degree wind chill weather and being cold. And I even saw they had some quotes from fans. They're like, well, it wasn't the cold weather that got people sick. It was the fact that they didn't prepare. Well, no, it was the cold weather that made them sick. And you can criticize people for not preparing. I mean, fine. But, I mean, should you really be out there in -29 degrees? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I think the advice for anybody, if it's -29, is, well, stay inside until it gets warmer.
Well, yeah, and the idea that, oh, this is football and these are the best games when it's like this, and I'm like, no, it's not. The product is much better when it's indoors. Guys can, everybody can play loosely. They don't have to worry about, I think the idea that these cold weather games are awesome is just complete nonsense that's been fed to us by, old YouTube videos and watching old NFL games. The games are usually not good. And by example, that Chiefs-Dolphins game was a pretty bad football game.
Yeah.
If my team wasn't in it, I would have had no interest in watching it. I barely had interest watching it when my team is in it. So, I agree with you. I think it's absolutely asinine. I will never understand sports fans that go through that much crap to go watch your team. Like, why? I just don't. It's never going to make sense to me. I'm glad they put Super Bowls in domes or warm weather. I think that's the game we want to watch. And why would you make the product worse willingly?
Yeah. I mean, I just, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's just kind of funny because I do think that there's starting to be kind of a thing like, should we be playing this game right now? Should we postpone this? Because I feel like in the past, that wasn't even a thought. It's like, well, the game is scheduled for this day. We got to play, and it's like, well, no, you don't. And I think some people are starting to wake up to that, but I just thought that was an interesting thing to come out of these playoffs where we had, one game get postponed because of snow and another one, and just hearing people on TV like, oh, well, you have to deal with cold weather. It's like, no. There's cold weather, and then there's what was going on in Kansas City. I mean, that is life-threatening temperatures.
Yeah,
So,
and
anyway.
by the way, and I agree with you, not about the players, but the fans. That's what I'm worried
The
about.
fans and the people working at the stadium, the people in concessions and all those other things that all the other people that have to work there to put those games on and allow the fans to go there. Just putting your life on the line for a game, essentially. I know we all love this stuff, but it is a game.
Well, Clark, it goes back to what we've been talking about, man. Football is heroin. It got a huge amount of viewers. So, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to. That's the scary part. As me being a fan is that the games don't even have to be good because the TV networks make all the money. No one cares. So it's just like it's just really disturbing to me that this is where we are. Maybe I'm part of the problem. Maybe because I'm supporting it, I'm watching it. Maybe I'm part of the problem. But all we can do, Clark, on this podcast is pass on our wisdom. So maybe that's all
Well,
we
and
can
look,
say.
maybe in the article I was reading, maybe a solution is you just limit the number of fans that can come to some of these games. Because you can keep fewer. It's easier to keep fewer fans safe, and then you don't have to bring as many people to the stadium. Because I just, the players, hey, it's your job. You can decide to go out there or not. You're making millions of dollars. But the regular people, that's who I'm more concerned about.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been caught dead. And then Clark.